I'm going to call the special meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber and via Zoom teleconference, which meeting link can be found on the agenda and on the city's website calendar. The prayer will be offered by City Clerk Susan Lovering, and Alderman Schmidt will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with the spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment of greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. If you are participating via Zoom, please state your presence, reason for not attending the meeting in person, and whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Clee. Here. Alderwoman Kelly. Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Karen. Here. Alderman Clemmons.
Here.
Alderman Lopez. Alderman Tenza.
Present.
Alderwoman Lou.
Here.
Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt.
Present.
Alderman Laws.
I'm participating by Zoom because I am watching the baby and I am alone other than her.
Alderman Cleaver. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Present.
Alderman Wilshire.
I am here.
You have 11 physically in attendance and 1 participating via Zoom.
And Alderman Cleaver did let me know that he was unable to join us this evening. Tonight we have a presentation. The Beautification Committee is going to give us an update on their accomplishments and what they would like to work on in the future. So I'm going to recognize Carolyn Choate.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Thank you. I'm going to start out a little bit differently tonight with my first slide that I want to thank my husband for helping me with the PowerPoint this evening. If you'll see the slide, perhaps on the top here, we all have one of those relatives that we care so much about. However, you avoid visiting like the plague because, well, you don't really feel comfortable going to their house and you're thinking, well, couldn't they just clean the place up a little bit, buy some new furniture, maybe paint the walls so that you would feel welcome and such, feel a little bit more comfortable. Because golly, look what someone could do. Look at the bottom picture. That's kind of like what beautification could be like on a grand scale for my relative that I love so much, which is my dear city and our relative, the city of Nashua. So thank you for having me tonight. I am Carolyn Choate, and I want to thank all of you here tonight, the current Board of Aldermen, for your support over the years that I've been the chair. And for those who are departing, I want to encourage you to please, nonetheless, give us your support when you leave, because after all, even though your duties here may decline, we still need you in Nashua. And for those who are going to be new to the board, I welcome this opportunity to introduce you to what we do. And foremost, I'd like to thank Mayor Donchis for giving me the opportunity to do what I love most, and that is become a beautification activist. I came to him in 2016 and with a dream that he has let me see to fruition, and that was to impact the beautification aesthetic nature of our city, both city properties, residential properties, commercial properties, in cooperation with city departments, and not least of which was a mentor of all sorts, and to many of us, Brian McCarthy, God rest his soul, and Steve Bolton, who helped us to have a trust fund within the city, giving us as the beautification committee the right, the authority to raise funds so that we could return those funds to city coffer to beautify Nashua in ways that we could work in cohort with, for example, Parks and Recreation. It's still our dream after a major fundraiser last summer to beautify a garden in Brian's memory here on this very property of City Hall. So I also want to thank most notably also Nashua Code Enforcement, because they have trained all our members in the technique known as knock and talk, and that is a wonderful mitigation, cooperative spirit wherein one never knows why a property might look the way it does. You know, you might complain about the neighbor next door who has grass very high, but you don't know, maybe his wife had cancer. Maybe he works 40 plus hours a week and is a single parent. One never knows about what are the circumstance behind someone's property situation. Many times they have said to us, why bother? In confidence, they've said to us, why bother city enforcement when you as a neighbor could go to someone and say, can I help? And they're absolutely right. In case you don't know, code enforcement is looking after something like 20,000 properties. So if you want to put well-deserved investment in something that has long-lasting effect for all economic development, for all echelons of society, by having an aesthetically pleasing environment for all its citizens, investing in a couple more people in code enforcement would be well spent. So let's move on to the PowerPoint. If I could have the next slide, please. This is our creed. This is what the Nashua Beautification Committee's mission statement is. It is the mission of the Nashua Beautification Advisory Committee, keynote advisory, to identify and develop opportunities that can enhance the visual attractiveness of the city of Nashua. Towards this mission, the committee is committed to working in conjunction with city resources, residents, and organizations to maximize its efforts. Simple as that. Next slide, please. Now, this happens to be in my neighborhood. This is something that, these are things that I like to hope that we could achieve. Maybe some of our laws could be enhanced. More enforcement, I'm not sure, but maybe some of the laws could be strengthened. Because many people say, oh, come on, we live in the live free or die state. Why do I have to care about what my property looks like? God, this is why I moved to New Hampshire. Well, when you live in a compact neighborhood, imagine, next slide, please, what the guy next door thinks. This is the person next door. He's a neatnik. Why should he have to abide by the guy next door who really did have 4 to 5 feet weeds in his property? We did have code enforcement come. He was a very belligerent individual, and he said, ultimately, I don't have a lawnmower. So it is very tough on code enforcement, and it's tough on compact neighborhoods. Maybe we can revisit some of the laws and figure out how can we deal with it, because so many people work so hard. Modest incomes, but by golly, they can work day and night and have a beautiful yard and feel so proud of their accomplishments. Next slide. Now, this property is also in dire straits. The grass got much taller, but in this case, this is an absentee landlord. They are buying houses all over the city, and I ask you, what are the laws in place? I'm not privy to them perhaps, but maybe you are. Can we have some, maybe a deeper understanding of such matters for absentee landlords? And this next slide, this is the side of the property in a compact neighborhood. waste metal, garbage. This is just, I didn't want to belabor it, but this is just one side of the home. And there are 4 single men living here who work in the trades, and this is what they are leaving on the property. I think it's a darn shame for the beautiful homes that live people that live next door and what they need to look at every day. Next slide. Now, this is when we broach a new area, because I know that you are particularly involved with what happens in in Nashua proper. This is a state issue. So I come to you and say, let's all work together. This is 36 square miles that we all love, whether the state has the authority, whether you have the authority. I just say, let's come together. Because when you drive into Nashua, coming north on Everett Turnpike, this was promised to be a beautiful cascading, we all know back when the widening was done, promised to be a lovely cascading greenery. Bill Boynton told me point blank before he left the highway department, yeah, that was an abject failure. How long are we gonna put up with this? This is in the fall. In the summer, it's just atrocious. You know, several blocks worth. I know New Hampshire's getting some amount of money from the infrastructure bill. Can't we all work together to get this looking right for the people that come into our state? We are the gate city. I beg you. Next slide. Now, this is another matter because I've worked with code enforcement and they say there are no laws on the books about dealing with unsightly commercial properties unless they are of injurious nature to the general public. They have no say. This property, which was Amazon is using it now, the old Building 19, we all know of it on Amherst Street. In the summertime, it is atrocious to look at. Again, another vantage point into our city. Why must we look at industrial commercial sites that are blighted? People own those. Those are taxpayers in large measure. There's nothing on the books to have them looking, at least somehow respectable. So these are things I'm hoping that we can work together in the future. Next slide. This is, again, this is motor vehicles. That's not a lovely Storadella lily on the left. That's crabgrass. That's crabgrass that's as big as a whiskey barrel or a wine cask. And those are hundreds of cigarette butts. A lot of people come from other towns to use that facility for for the Department of Transportation. They don't know maybe that Nashua doesn't own that. But what are we doing saying to the people who do oversee that site, look, you're in our city, clean it up. Next slide. Here's another bone of contention. Many cities, Bedford just did a beautiful remake of their highway, around Bedford Village Inn, that strip there. Took out the old median strips like this ugly thing that has weeds all the time, all summer. This is a fall scene, and put beautiful native grasses in, something of, that's nice to look at instead of slabs of cement. Look at the next slide. This is what's possible. I look at that and I'm like, wow, people really care about this town. I want to see what else is here. Wow, look at the entryway in from their highways. This is what I am hoping for us, for our, more examples of an economic development that is inviting in ways that beckon us in. Bill Parker, who did the roundabout on, in front of National High North and the one on Manchester Street, he's ready to go. He wants to do more things with our city come next year. And I say, let's invite him. Next slide. This is Broad Street Parkway. Going in and going out. I think this is our responsibility. I think this is Nashua's responsibility, if I'm correct. And this is what we're looking at. Beautiful. Our latest roadway in. Beautiful bridge. Beautiful water to look at. Our beautiful historic mill yard. All the lovely, what's intriguing to me is that we in the planning department expect so much from the builders and the permits that we give, and then we turn around and we are not upholding the bargain ourselves. It's a shame. Next slide. And this is that island right in front of the Pink Palace, right on Court Street. Many of those are invasive species. It's been looking like this. I worked very hard on this island week in and week out when I worked with Public Works. This is the way it looks recently. People, I'm sure all of us drive by it every day. And if not, my invitation to you is look around when you drive around our city. You are our eyes and ears for this community. We look to you to guide us. Be a part of what I have been doing. Now, I'm sorry, Donna, that I didn't have this ready for you because I was supposed to get all this paperwork in. But I was diagnosed with cancer again last week. And I couldn't get everything together. But this is a list from 2019 of 20 properties that I personally have spearheaded for change, commercial, city, and residential. If one person can do all this, surely we can, as a group, accomplish much. Next slide. Now, as an example, you know where this mural is right here. Now, it took me about 1 hour. There's the before and there's the after. Voila. Next slide. This, I'm hoping with the changes that we're seeing with the downtown transportation department, these are islands of greenery. These are islands of weedery for, behind Fort and Gage, behind the garage. This is not, people come to our city and look for parking, and they're gonna park in these lots back there, and these are the things they see. Obviously, it's not something that maybe some of us see every day, but somebody's gonna see them, and they're most likely gonna be visitors. This is not what we want them to see. These are opportunities for beauty. The city of Newton, which I'll leave with you, they have developed opportunities in the town. It's called Newton Pride, and what an incredible beautification aspect they have in Newton. Just look up beautification on Google and you'll see thousands of towns with very active beautification projects. In fact, in Newton, they have only four places in all of Massachusetts have all-American selection display gardens that work in cohort with their garden clubs. Our garden clubs would jump at the opportunity, but we all know why this is not available at times, or the opportunity. I want us to work in cohort with our unions. Next slide. Now, here we have beautiful, sculptures from our sculpture symposium. This is the kind of respect we're showing to our sculptures. Those are all weeds at the base of them. And I do hope that we can have a new and improved space at the library, but this is what we're looking at like typically in the meantime, and I hope we can straighten it out. I really do, because that is our cultural hub, our library. It was one of the most progressive libraries probably in all of New England, and it's still a great point of pride. I want the outside to be as wonderful as its inside. Next slide. This, next to the fence, was actually someone who had trimmed all of the trees that needed trimming and just took all the refuge and just thrown it against the fence. Unacceptable. Next slide. So, thank you for your time. There's so much that we can do together, and my hero in life is Lady Bird Johnson. I hope we all remember her. And she said, there is much the government can do and should do to improve the environment. But even more important is the individual who plants a tree or cleans a corner of neglect. For it is the individual who himself benefits and also protects a heritage of beauty for his children and future generations. I thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And if anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was pretty interesting. Does anyone have any questions? Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you very much. It is eye-opening, and but I do have like 4 constituents that people have complained about, as well as they have contacted me. And I know in one particular case, much like you said, there's a health issue in the family, and the spouse cannot take care of it, and there's a prideful thing there. So sometimes when you kind of approach people, I would be very interested in the knock and talk kind of things that you were taught, because I think that might help some of the community too, to help their neighbors without embarrassing them. One other constituent purposefully grew the weeds, greenery, whatever you want to call it, way out of control for butterflies and critters and things like that. She felt that that was her way of taking care of that. So we have to be cognizant that people have, while you may have a very beautifully landscaped property, your neighbor may have a more organic kind of feel. So I think we just need to be careful.
Balance.
Yes, we need to balance, and we need to be careful when we're speaking to our neighbors in that respect. I also want to commend you for the weeding that you did. Over the spring and early summer, I worked with a number of different groups, and we cleaned up trash, and we did a lot of weeding, and we even helped people with their yards as such. And we worked with businesses, and we worked with other people. The Toll Street Mission actually did planting and things like that, and all around. Are you finding that you have groups that are coming forward that would be willing to do things like that?
Yes,
without any
we
cost
are.
to the city?
Sorry.
That's okay, no, my apologies.
We are, but we're also finding frustration in as much as many groups will come together to do a specific cleaning effort, but then feels that one of the things missing in the dynamic is we would prefer a policy of long-term maintenance, not this reactive once in a while until until another situation occurs where it's so bad everyone feels so compelled to clean up. We are hoping for a long-term maintenance plan from the city on many of the projects that groups work on. That is the best case scenario.
May I just thank you so much. I appreciate that clarification on it, and I do understand. When you work really hard to help clean something up, and then you see later on, a month later, it's back to where it was, you feel like you kind of wasted your time. So I appreciate and understand what you're saying. Are you looking for changing in zoning? Are you looking for more gardens, such as what we see on Manchester Street or Henry Burke or something of that nature where independent garden groups do those things. I guess this is a beautiful presentation. I'm just not quite sure what it is specifically.
Well, for
you're looking
example,
for. Yes,
The
thank you.
one example of, it would be nice to see maybe laws in place for the commercial aspect, seeing that, there are no laws in place for commercial aesthetic properties. Maybe it's time we did have something in place for them. There's a law against no snow being snow blown in a road. There's a law against no leaves being raked or blown into a road. There's no law against grass being mowed into a road. And I have had people call me and say, my neighbor is dumping like huge clods of grass every week. He mows his yard and the grass is, in front of his house every week. That's dangerous for motorcycles for one thing, but again, it's aesthetically displeasing. He will never pick it up. The neighbor has complained to him to no avail. So I called code enforcement. There's no law for that. So maybe some things need to be tweaked.
Thank you.
Alderman Tenza.
So, just for the record, as you said that, ma'am, we actually do have an ordinance on yard debris, so maybe that's something we can counsel
On what?
on placing yard debris and snow and everything into the street that we passed within the last 4 years. So maybe that's something, just education and
Great.
that we can work on,
Nice.
at least a low-hanging fruit to
Thank you.
get that moving.
Anyone else? Alderman Lou.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Carolyn, I didn't catch your last name.
Choate, C-H-O-A-T-E.
Thank you. Are you an employee of the city?
No, I was for one summer.
Is this a volunteer?
Oh, absolutely.
Volunteer? Okay.
Mhm.
And where does the beautification committee receive its funding?
We don't have any funding.
Oh, okay. So it's all comes out of your pocket, anything that is
We
planted?
don't
or-
spend any money, we just clean up things.
I see.
I take that back in one regard. We pick a project each season, and 2 seasons ago, we picked the girls' home, at that time, the girls' home on Concord Street. When we do raise money, it all goes into the city coffer and is not to be used on any private property matter, only city property. So that was a private property issue, obviously. So we went to the neighbors. I did a fundraiser, and neighbors were so generous. We raised $2,100, and we had 3 large trees removed. I got a discount for replacement plantings from Country Brook Farm in Hudson. I'm a Rotarian, and my Rotarian friends owns a landscape company. He gave his things for free. We got plantings, and there's still some money, I believe, left in that kitty for maybe some lawn work, etc. But we don't need money. We just, do projects out of the goodness of our heart, and we work with commercial property owners when complaints come to us, and I typically go to the business owners myself and say, hey, have you looked at, someone called about a property that you have, didn't know if you were aware that you have 3 dead trees on the property that would really look great if you replace them. Oh, I had no idea. Thanks for bringing it to my attention.
Could I follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So it sounds like you do some fundraising. I was.
Well, my husband built an all-purpose potting shed table, and we raised $1,000 at the farmer's market.
Wow, that's great. I wasn't aware there was a committee, a beautification committee. How do you get the word out? I don't see it on the city website or.
Well, it started out pretty large, and I was enjoying an early retirement at the time before I started working full-time and overtime at Southern New Hampshire University. So since that time, it's been ad hoc as we get together once in a while. And then I work with a esteemed designer, Lorraine Proust, who is a retired certified designer, and we work on projects, she and I, at need.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, you were talking about the property on Concord Street, that they have done a wonderful job, and it's a labor of love. It really is. They do it out of the kindness of their hearts and because they want to do it, not because they have to do it. Yeah.
Okay. My husband's bringing up to me that, to make clear that I'm not here to ask for money or funding, and that's true. I'm not here for funding. I'm saying, I just wanted to let you aware of who we are, what we do, and that you might, avail some funding perhaps for maybe some more code enforcement people. It would help in the long run, and just your support, knowing that aesthetics are important to the economic vitality of our city, and we need to raise the bar.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everything you do.
Don, I'd like to leave these with you so that you could pass them on. There's a story about Newton's and some of the projects that we worked on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to adjourn by roll call.
Motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
And we are adjourned at 7:32 p.m. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 7:34 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber and via Zoom teleconference, which meeting link can be found on the agenda and on the city's website calendar. The prayer will be offered by City Clerk Susan Levering, and Alderwoman Lou will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. If you are participating by Zoom, please state your presence, reason for not attending the meeting in person, and whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderwoman Kelly.
I am here attending via Zoom due to a COVID exposure, and there's no one here in the room with me.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderman Clemmons.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Tenza.
Present.
Alderwoman Lou.
Here.
Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Laws.
I'm here attending via Zoom because I'm watching the baby and she's the only one in the room with me and she's currently asleep.
Alderman Cleaver. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Present.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Here.
You have 12 physically in attendance and 2 participating via Zoom.
And again, Alderman Cleaver did let me know that he was unable to join us this evening. I'm going to recognize Rich Lannon, who is the president of the Nashua Community Arts, for an announcement. Mr. Lannon.
Good evening, everyone. Is that positioned okay in order for the camera to get it, or? Okay, thank you. Yes, as was said, I'm the president of the National Community Arts, which I believe most of you know, or all of you know, is the, if you don't mind just a little bit, or I can't see, is the nonprofit that has raised money right from the beginning for the Performing Arts Center. Actually, I think it's this week. It will make it a year ago when all the funds was raised appropriately, and all the closings taking place. It might even be tomorrow. It'd be market a year, give or take. And prior to that, the National Community Arts was tasked at raising over $1.5 million as part of the arrangement of the total of the $4 million, which we did. There was a capital campaign committee at that time. The chair was of that committee was Debbie Navanti. After that, and after the closing, since then, pretty much the same. We have a great board of 10 members who are all very active, 7 of which is a fundraising committee, which is chaired by Mary Lou Blaisdell at this time. Again, we meet every other week, but there's not a day that goes by there's not conversations between some people. So even though we did our job, so to speak, last December, it was far from over. We continued and will continue after tonight of raising money for what we're all excited about. I'm also wear a few other hats. So I'm on the weekly and sometimes multiple times a week, the team construction meetings with both the construction manager, Harvey Construction, Icon the architect, and Spectacle Live, who's the operator, will be the operator. As some of you know, a lot of them have been here before you in the past, like Spectacle Live, which is owned by Pete Lally and his assistant Brendan Karen. I mean, they've been at every single meeting of the steering committee from 3 years ago. They've been involved, and literally conversations go on almost daily with them. They are with all the other facilities they have under obviously crazy conditions and crazy times. They're at weekly meetings, sometimes multiple meetings a week, and it's a very committed group. One thing that's great, I know it has nothing to do with this announcement, but I think you should just kind of throw it out there, because we had another weekly meeting today, and much to the dismay of a lot of people with COVID and the whole pandemic, everything is, over budget, everything is, the labor market is bad. Obviously, supply chain is awful. However, we are on budget and on schedule, and I will give Harvey Construction a lot of kudos, because if they didn't secure all the contracts and do everything that they had to do last fall, even a couple of months before they got the go-ahead, okay, we're ready to go, you can start tearing the building down. They secured those, and we're told if they were just 2 or 3 months later, it would be a whole different story that I probably wouldn't be here right now. The budget could have been 20 to 30% higher, and obviously the supply chain to get steel, we got the steel, we got a lot of the things we need. I mean, they've had some stumbling blocks, but bottom line is, it is 100% on budget, on schedule, and we're hoping by late fall, we'll all be able to enjoy going in onto this facility and enjoying it the way we should. So we are very, very much looking forward to that. Sorry, I thought I missed something here, but so also, when I mentioned we continue to fundraise, there's a lot of things that we're doing. A couple of things specifically we're doing right now, you probably have seen on social media, we have a Name a Seat program where people can obviously buy a seat, they can after themselves, a business, in memory or in honor of somebody. I mean, they're $500 and $1,000, probably a shameless plug there. So if anybody wants Christmas presents, there you go. But we also have naming rights throughout the building that go from $5,000 to $1 million. And a couple months ago, Philip Sconsis, who is very apologetic about not being here, he texted me about 20 minutes ago, is the next part. I wanted him to be standing here and not me. He's been on our fundraising committee. We just brought him on to our board of directors as well. He had the pleasure of speaking to a donor. That was announced in the media that we had an anonymous donor, and that will continue to be an anonymous donor. I don't even know the donor's name myself, but that anonymous donor is very serious about Nashua, very interested in Nashua, very interested in the arts, and has agreed to donate $1 million. So we made that announcement. But over the last couple months, they've been struggling just with the name, because it's not going to be the name. It's not like we're naming it, the Smith or the Jones Center. So just about a week ago, there was a decision made. And that's, again, this is where I was going to turn this over to Philip. So where he would be up here just kind of ad-libbing like I have been so far, I'm actually going to read this, if you don't mind. These were kind of Philip's words, so if I may. So it's short. The center will be home to much more than a theatrical and musical performances. It will be hosting films, a variety of attractions like celebrity chefs, reality TV stars, recitals, and competitions. They, meaning the donor, are looking forward to art exhibitions in the gallery, and we're pleased that the operator Spectacle Live is willing to work with the community and school partners for access to the center. The donors also feel it is important to have Nashua in the name. It will give Nashua the attention it deserves for the destination for the arts. They also think it is important that both Spectacle Live and Nashua Community Arts, the nonprofit associated with the center, will work together to make the center serve as a resource and gathering place for the community, and to make the arts and cultural activities accessible to the community at large. It will improve the quality of life for residents, enhance growth and stability of arts and culture in the city, and will provide strong economic benefits for the entire Nashua area. And this is obviously some of Philip's thoughts, but also just reiterating the thoughts from the donor that he has been the only one that's been in contact with through this process. So that being said, is this picture that I have up here now, this one we cut around that some of you might have seen. It's a picture of the lobby area looking in from Main Street if you're looking through the windows. This particular lobby is named after Bank of America. I'll also say, like Bank of America was very early on with a very generous $250,000 donation. And I'm not sure if all of you remember or not, but we also have, which has been about a year now, another anonymous donor that we don't know the name of a family that donated $250,000, and they're not looking for naming rights, no nothing, just here's $250,000. We believe in the arts, and we believe in the center. So that being said, the envelope, please. So basically, this will be the National Center for the Arts. And this is the new rendering that I literally picked up hot off the press this afternoon. So that will be, I know we've been calling it the National Performing Arts Center because we didn't have a name. We had no idea what the name would be someday. But as I just read with Phil talking to her and the family, that the word Nashua in there is important. The word performing was probably too narrow. This is going to be a lot more, as I read a few other ideas, a lot more than just performing arts center. It's going to be a lot of things. There's a lot of times we kind of kid around about being an event center. Well, it's not really an event center either. So we think it's appropriate. I know the committee is the only ones that know about this, as well as spectacle management. We wanted to kind of get their thoughts. Not that we probably have done too much about it. The generosity of this donor asked for this name, but we think it's extremely appropriate. Spectacle Live, literally as I'm speaking here, as I'm walking out, this is hitting all the newspapers. Spectacle Live is hitting all social media. Icon is hitting all of their. It'll be all over the place literally tonight into tomorrow. So I know we're excited about it, and I'm here because we felt that it was really important as a courtesy to the Board of Aldermen with the support that was given to this project, a year ago for buying the project and the support behind it. We thought there was nothing more appropriate than announcing it here before you. So this is your name of the new art center that's under construction. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back. I'm sure we'll be back again. I know the intention is to come back at the beginning of the year before the new board with more of a presentation, but this announcement, we've been chomping a bit to get this word out. So here we are.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome.
Not taking questions.
I missed the name.
Nashville Center for the Arts, right? That's what it said.
Okay.
Jeff, I can send him a message. Yeah.
Okay, Mayor, did you wish to address the board this evening?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President.
Welcome.
Well, first, I'd like to thank Rich Lannon and Philip Sconsis, and congratulate them for doing such effective work on behalf of the Nashua Center for the Arts. It's not often that someone comes in and gives us such good news. Often there are complaints, but this was something very, very positive, so thank you and everyone involved. As normal, as I've been doing, Madam President, I thought I would update you on the COVID situation. Again, we're well into the area of substantial transmission. The numbers on COVID cases and prevalence continue to creep up. As of yesterday, one of the metrics is the positivity rate. That is 15.1% of the people who are tested are coming out with COVID. That's in the city of Nashua. The number of cases per 100,000 that have arisen in the last 14 days is 1,254 in the city. These numbers, and there are currently 568 active cases. These numbers are much higher than they were in the summertime. They really exceed the peak that we saw last December. So we need to continue to be careful. Public Health is working hard to vaccinate people. Saturday at Elm Street Middle School, they vaccinated 1,107 people, 700 of them kids, 500 adults, a ballpark. And the vaccination rate here in the city is documented to be 52.6% fully vaccinated, 59.1% with one dose. Now, those are a little low because they do not include people who've been vaccinated at pharmacies. The state is not collecting not able or not collecting that data. Again, we need to, because of this level of transmission, we need to wear our masks, thank you very much, and also encourage everyone to take advantage of the vaccines that are out there. The Board of Health is meeting tomorrow after taking some substantial public input regarding whether to recommend a return to the mask protocol. I don't know what they will do, but they meet, I believe, at noon tomorrow. Madam President, I wanted to mention one of the items on the agenda that has been a long time coming and is very significant for the city, related to the downtown and the Nashua River, and that's the approval of the bonding for the implementation of the Riverfront Master Plan. That was unanimously recommended by the Budget Committee, but some questions have been asked over the last few days, so I wanted to go through a little bit of the history, just because it goes back quite a ways, to remind people how we've gotten here. First, in 2016, the Board of Aldermen, approved the idea of proceeding with a Riverfront Master Plan to reimagine the Nashua River, in recognition of the fact that we have a beautiful natural asset right downtown, namesake of the city. We are actually a river city. That's how Nashua was founded. And at that time, engaged Halverson, a design firm, Halverson Design, to do the Riverfront Master Plan. Now, as part of that, the city, through its staff, took a lot of public input. This is pre-COVID, so there were a lot of in-person input sessions, a lot online, and working with Halverson over a period of months and with hundreds of community residents, came forward with the Downtown Riverfront Master Plan, or Development Plan, this being a copy of what was developed at that time. And that came forward in August of 2017. At that time, the board adopted the Riverfront Master Plan. Everybody was briefed on it. Then the idea was, well, how do we pay for this? Now, the point of doing many types of projects like this is that a public investment in something as significant as the Nashua River will result in private investment. So that if the city invests money, money will come back. So the Board of Aldermen adopted what's called a Tax Increment Financing District, or TIF. That was adopted in March of 2018. That was done pursuant to a procedure authorized by the state. This is a part of the state statutes and state law. It requires a public hearing. So public hearing was held, explanation was given, and the TIF was created then in around March of 2018. Now, there had been a small tax or TIF right around the Jackson Falls condos, but that was expanded to include most of the riverfront. So that was done in 2018. And the point of the TIF and the way it works is that any increase in property values over what existed at the time of the adoption is captured, the taxes from that increase in value is directed into the tax increment financing district. So that began later in that year or the next as the values in that area began to increase, particularly with Lofts 34. And as of this time, about $1,077,000 is coming in on an annual basis as a result of the increases that have occurred within the TIF district. Some of that money has been used, cash, no borrowing, to create a design of the riverfront project. But before we get to that, let me mention that we then, after 2018, in about 2019, we engaged Halverson again to develop a detailed concept regarding how, what exactly would be changed, what improvements would be made on the Nashua River. And that was presented by them in 2019, I believe. That was, of course, shown to the Board of Aldermen and to the public. Then in 2019, after the concept plan was done by Halverson, the city engaged VHB, design firm, to actually do the detailed design that had been presented by Halverson. This involves, civil engineering, it involves permitting in the river, various things. It's complicated to do a riverfront project because of the Army Corps of Engineers and DES, other permitting agencies. So then the city contracted to undertake the design, and the design is underway now and is expected to be completed sometime in the middle of next year. The concept plan, which Halverson did, was presented in January of 2020. And so that is how we got to where we are today. The design is ongoing, and the idea is that we will then bond money to implement the Halverson concept and the VHB detailed design. Questions also been asked, is the money coming into the TIF sufficient to pay the amount of the bond? And the answer is yes. David Fredette and John Griffin did a spreadsheet which was presented to the Budget Committee showing how this would flow over the next number of years. And it projects some growth in the revenue, but a very conservative projection, because it suggests that the revenue coming in, including both any increases in taxes, but also new development, will total only 2.5% on average every year. And if that occurs, There will be no problem, and at the end of this bond, there would be millions of excess money over and above what's been required to both pay for the bond and maintain the property. There are a number of, or several significant development potential sites in the TIF, one next to Cotton Mill Square. There's the Picker Building owned by Clock Tower, which still could go ahead at any time. And there's the former Gauthier Building next to the Picker Building. So if any of those are developed, there would be significant more revenue coming into the TIF. So I hope that you will follow the recommendation of the Budget Committee and adopt the plan, vote to secure the money to implement something which will be a very, very significant improvement, something we've been working on for years here for the Riverfront and I think for the future of Nashua. A couple more quick things, Madam President. I wanted to mention, I know the budget, the expanded outdoor dining, I know the committee, the infrastructure committee, I've talked with Alderman O'Brien a couple of times about this, discussed that this week or last week and decided to study the issue a little more. I think we definitely need to reach a compromise with some of the people who've raised some significant issues, particularly regarding parking right in front of their stores and the turnover and the need to have convenient parking. But we also need to recognize that this project, although started as a COVID response, resulted in a downtown which was changed in character for the good. I mean, it has brought hundreds, thousands of people downtown who wouldn't have been here. The parking consultant, and you're going to get their report soon, but their oral report, and based on their survey, tells us that 80% of the people who come downtown come down for the restaurants and the bars. And the way to ultimately build a stronger retail environment is to bring more people downtown in any way that we can, such as the outdoor dining, such as the Nashua Center for the Arts, such as new downtown housing. So it is bringing many people downtown. It is changing the energy and the energy level, the vitality level. It's making the city more pedestrian friendly, which is what you need to actually have a place that people want to go. Now, again, I repeat, as I said at the beginning, we need to reach a compromise because we want success on every block. Businesses to be successful on every block of the city. But there are areas where the dining has been expanded where there really isn't much or any controversy with any of the neighboring businesses. And I think, as you think through the blocks, you can probably come up with those, but those are something that certainly will be discussed with the committee. So I look forward to doing that when that gets scheduled. I think we can reach a solution which preserves the best of what we've done and yet makes changes that help us secure success on every block. And finally, Madam President, I wanted to mention that holidays are coming up. Madam President, I hope you have a great holiday season, and everyone and all of our Nashua residents, we all, I'm sure, are looking forward to being with our families and just having a wonderful holiday season. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. Responses to the remarks of the mayor. Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. Last week I had surgery at Southern New Hampshire. I'm sorry, St. Joseph Hospital. Apologize. And I did a presentation to both hospitals the day after on Friday. A thank you to the healthcare heroes. And I had the great fortune to speaking to many of the staff there, as well as to the CEOs of both hospitals. And I was shocked to learn how filled those beds are, how we really have no beds available. And it's not that we don't have space or beds, but we don't have the staff to take care of those patients and so on. And we keep hearing over and over again how patients are being moved out of the state, not necessarily out of Nashua, but out of the state. And then we see these numbers that the mayor has given, and it's quite shocking. One of the things that I had done that Healthcare Heroes with United Way was because the capacity and the burnout is extraordinary right now. And someone had said that it was at this is worse than the height of the pandemic. And that really kind of disturbed me. But one of the CEOs that I spoke to said it quite succinctly. He said, no, we're at the height of the pandemic right now. He said, and on top of it, we have an epidemic. And the epidemic are those patients that had delayed care. So right now, they're starting to, not necessarily our two hospitals here, but throughout the state, they're starting to, any surgery that has to have hospitalization, they're rescheduling or canceling them. I was panicked for 2 weeks before that my surgery was going to be. And it was very important that I had that surgery. I can't imagine what people are doing now. So whether the Board of Health recommends a mask mandate or we do whatever has to be done, I am begging the citizens here in Nashua to do the right thing, to get vaccinated, to wear the masks, to wash your hands, to keep social distancing, to do everything you can, not come down on someone who doesn't, but to help everybody and do what we can. Let's be positive, let's be proactive. And if masks are what's recommended, we need to look towards the experts and we need to take it as it's given. I was truly on Friday almost beside myself listening to these poor people who are exhausted and seeing the same marks over their noses because they're wearing double masks. And I actually heard from someone who had once worked as a healthcare person here in Nashua who loved their job and just couldn't take it anymore. They just couldn't take it and the guilt that they feel. So let's do what we can, help everybody. I don't know if we can do anything for these numbers, but let's stop yelling and screaming at each other and just work together. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing those numbers to us.
Further responses to the remarks of the mayor. Alderman Lowe.
Thank you. I would just like to comment on the discussion about the barriers. And I just want to point out that, first of all, I'm not sure when you say compromise, who we're compromising with. And the reason I said that is that this board received dozens and dozens of letters from, many from business owners downtown and other residents of Nashua. And maybe one or two were in favor. I went downtown and spoke with businesses one Saturday, and I only spoke with businesses that were not in the food and beverage industry. 98% of them said no, they don't want this. It's impacted their livelihood tremendously. I feel that, I didn't understand how we can have a public hearing and after the hearing, state a judgment call that I don't think the people who came tonight truly represent the majority. That was, they came out, they said they didn't want it, and I think, that is all that matters. I don't know who we're compromising with.
Well, it is not accurate that the businesses downtown don't want this. I mean, at that same hearing, you heard Mary Lou Blaisdell, a downtown owner, come in and say she wants it.
I
The
said
people,
98%.
excuse me, the people on the Downtown Improvement Committee representing various businesses have endorsed the idea. And Rich Lannon, representing his tenants, spoke in favor of this. So yes, there is a division of opinion regarding this, but the main objection seems to be the convenience of parking, and that I think we can address. Keep in mind that the thousands of people who come downtown to eat in these restaurants outdoors, who obviously support the idea, They did not come to City Hall. But just, open your eyes any summer night, and you'll see hundreds of people who are enjoying this and obviously support it.
Could I just finish my comments? Thank you. I feel that with a lot going, about to happen downtown, with many residential units coming in and new business coming to the National Performing Arts Center, it would be prudent to put this decision off until the point in time when we have a sense of what these changes are going to do to our traffic and our needs for downtown. Thank you.
Anyone else? Responses to the remarks of the mayor? Seeing none? Recognition period.
There is none.
Reading minutes of previous meetings. There being no objection, I will declare the minutes of the special and regular Board of Aldermen meetings of November 15th, November 22nd, and November 23rd, 2021 be accepted, placed on file, and reading suspended. Communications requiring only procedural actions and written reports from liaisons.
Communications have been received from David G. Fedette, Treasurer Tax Collector, regarding Division of Public Works Street Department's purchase of an International HV 607 water tank truck and two-way radio from FY 2022 Capital Equipment Reserve Fund, SIR. From Matthew Sullivan, Planning Manager, regarding the referral from the Board of Aldermen on proposed O2173, amending the inclusionary zoning supplemental use regulations. From Margot Bell, Executive Director of Nashua Senior Activity Center, regarding appreciation and gratitude for 2021 allocation of funds. From Tim Cummings, Economic Development Director, regarding presentation by NPAC Consulting, reviewing NMTC transaction. From Kim Kleiner, Administrative Services Division Director, regarding O21-077 and Ordinance O2180. And from Donna Graham, Legislative Affairs Manager, regarding communications received from the public.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communications and place them on file. Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. No one has signed up in the chamber.
Yes.
Mr.
Hello.
T-Bone,
Yes, I have some comments.
name and address for the record, please.
Fred T-Boom, 24 Cheyenne Drive in Nashua. I wish to comment on R21-193, the $21 million bond for the Riverwalk improvements. The question has to be asked, how is this $21 million bond for a TIF project to be paid for? Looking at the spreadsheet that was presented by Cummins and by Dave Fredette, a total of $48.3 million has to be incrementally extracted from the district over 30 years, ranging from $1.1 million in the early years to $2.2 million in the later years of the 30 years. This TIF financing has to be explained in a TIF financing plan, which is required by RSA 162K:9. None of that plan has been presented. Not during the meeting of a week ago or any other time. If you want to look what that plan looks like, take a look at the City of Dover's TIF financing plan, which is in 2014. You see an example of what's required. So the financing is very questionable. In addition, the scope of the project is very questionable. For example, why would you spend $4 million on the Parc de la Renaissance to take away parking spaces and add some grass and level the area? It makes no sense. There was no detail presented at all during the meeting a week ago. This whole thing is rushed. It has not been submitted for review and a vote by the Infrastructure Committee, the Economic Development Committee, the Finance Committee, Board of Public Works. It was presented a week ago, immediately followed by a Budget Committee meeting, and now it's before you. for $21 million that requires an RSA 163 TIF financing plan is insane. It is rushed. You have to stop it, table it, and have the new board see the next year take a much closer look at this. Table it. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to give public comment on items to be acted upon this evening?
Yes, Lori Ortolano.
Okay.
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I'm asking you to table R 21-193. What Fred said resonated with me. I have a lot of concerns about these TIF issues, TIF funding. Let me tell you that 2 weeks ago, I attended the Board of Assessors meeting, and I went after them with a lot of questions about the TIF funding on the Performing Arts Center. You know, we talk about incremental financing, and it's based on valuations year to year. And my understanding is if the valuation of the business changes from where it was established when the TIF was opened, that becomes the increment that feeds the fund. Well, the Performing Arts Center building, which was the former Alex Shoe Store, was never assessed properly after Alex moved out. That building has been taxed at $2,058,000 since it was Alex Shoe Store. And if you were to pull up the property record card right now, it's listed as a shoe store, a business with apartments operating. On April 6th, they put a wrecking ball to the place. You have to grab the valuations as of April 1st. On April 1st, it was a gutted building. It was not a $2,058,000 building. Now the taxpayers are essentially paying that tax. We paid a bill to the NPAC, who in turn paid it back to us, that I believe goes into, or part of it, into TIF financing. Well, when you've done the wrong assessment on the property and they're not captured correctly, there's a whole mess there I can't even figure out. I don't want to submit a PA 71 to the state, but I'm probably going to, because 2 weeks ago I asked questions and nobody has even opened their mouth to speak or say what they're doing to give me answers. This, if you're going to put properties in TIF, you have an obligation to assess them fairly and accurately, and you're not doing that. There are a ton of questions about this project on the Riverfront. For Mayor Donchis to say it was discussed in 2020, the last time with the board, is an embarrassment. To bring it back now for $21 million of funding. This is rushed, it's poorly thought of, and it shouldn't be executed right now. Get your new board in, slow your roll, and give it the time that it deserves. Also, regarding masks, I don't care if you bring masks back, but please, for the love of God, your restaurants have to go to takeout only. You close your bars, you shut down your casinos, and you close your clubs. Enough. I don't want to hear Trish Clee talking about how hard it is on staff and people at the hospital, and then you leave the booze places, the restaurants, the clubs, and casinos open. But you tell everyone when they go to the supermarket to have your mask on. That's just stupid. Let's not go there. So make it a mandate, and also put a restriction on businesses where people are not wearing a mask to be closed, period. Also, please pay attention to RSA 162K9, which talks about TIF funding, because I started digging into that. Thank you.
Mr. Westgate.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Brad Westgate. I'm a lawyer in Nashville at 111 Concord Street, representing Edgestone Properties, Inc. I'm just here to speak briefly on the street acceptance petitions, which will come up fairly soon on your agenda. Edgestone developed a residential subdivision on Shore Drive and Minter Way on the northerly side of West Hollis Street. The project was completed. Last homes were sold in mid-2019. The road's finished. The maintenance bond amount and form in the form of a letter of credit have now been approved by the city and would be shortly issued. So it is in order for Shore Drive and Minter Way to be accepted as city streets in the ordinary course. Shore Drive is the main road that Edgestone built in that neighborhood. Minter Way is a small cul-de-sac. So in light of those facts, we filed on behalf of Edgestone a petitions for street acceptance, one for Shore Drive, one for Minter Way, following the city's procedure for street acceptance. The city engineer's office reviewed the petitions, signed off on receipt of the plans necessary to depict the road and the streets that are being accepted. and also confirming that the streets were constructed in accordance with the approved plans. The city procedures require an opinion from counsel for the applicant, which I submitted. Corporation counsel reviewed that opinion, issued a memorandum to this board to the effect that the opinion I generated was acceptable. Corporation counsel had no further comments. And last week, the Committee on Infrastructure unanimously voted to recommend passage of the petition by the full board. So we respectfully request that the board tonight approve those petitions. Thank you for your time, Madam President.
Anyone else wishing to give public comment?
Laura Cahoon.
Ms. Cahoon.
Laura Cahoon from 30 Greenwood Drive. I'm also calling up about the $21 million. This apparently seems to be being rushed, and I think it's unfair to the Nashua taxpayers. As far as the TIF goes, nobody seems to bother to say that money's being taken from Peter to give to Paul. This money should be going into the general fund for all residents, but it's staying into one particular section of the city, which is 99.9% of the time downtown. And people have to realize, the residents have to realize that this money, if it wasn't going to the TIF, would be coming back and our taxes wouldn't be as increased as much as they are. Also, as far as the PAC presentation tonight, nobody has come up with the soft cost of what this PAC is going to cost the Nashua taxpayers. We've got, now that we find out that we have to pay rent for the rest of our lives, and we're also going to be paying on equipment $165,000, there's still a lot of soft costs that have not been told to the public as to what it's going to cost. I think that, number one, the officials in City Hall should give the residents a soft cost listing of all the PAC, and I think that the residents deserve a better response to this $21 million they want to spend on a Riverwalk. All of a sudden it's brought up, and all of a sudden we've got to spend $21 million, and I don't think the residents want to, especially now with all the inflation going on. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one? Communications requiring final approval.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding the contract award in excess of $1 million, change order number 1 for DPW facility design.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Madam President, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve an increase in the HKT Architects, Inc. design contract by $40,060, of which $29,360 is for additional scope of work of an alternation of terrain, a state permit, by roll call.
Heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
We have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding contract award in excess of $1 million, construction management services for a new DPW administrative office building.
Alderman Laws.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to accept, place on file, and approve a contract for construction management services for a new DPW administrative office building with Harvey Construction in an amount not to exceed $12,025,000 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding multi-year contract award, stream gauge equipment operation and maintenance.
Alderwoman Kelly?
Thank you, President Wiltshire. I move to accept, place on file, and approve a 3-year joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey, New England Water Science Center, New Hampshire, Vermont office, Pembroke, New Hampshire, for installation and maintenance of streamage on the Merrimack River in the amount of $25,850. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Activity Merrimack River Levy by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Cleve,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding multi-year contract award, compressed natural gas.
Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract for compressed natural gas that extends from the current fiscal year into succeeding fiscal years in which no funds have been appropriated nor otherwise designated for this, with ASGLP in an amount not to exceed $428,435 annually through May 1st, 2026 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Cleve,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries. Petitions.
Petitions for street acceptance, Minto Way and Shore Drive.
Alderman Jettie.
I move to grant the petitions for street acceptance for Minto Way and Shore Drive by roll call, and I'd like to be heard on that.
Alderman Jettie.
So as you heard Attorney Westgate explain, this is a petition for the acceptance of those two streets. There was a public hearing. No one spoke against it. The city engineer indicated that all the requirements have been met, so there's no reason to deny this, and I would ask that everyone support it.
The motion is to grant the street petition for street acceptance for Minto Way and Shore Drive by roll call. Any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Cleve,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Petition for rezoning Gateway Hills off Research Drive, lots A 798, A 1010, and A 1011.
Okay, this is on here for clarification. At the last Board of Aldermen meeting, the petition for rezoning was referred to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Planning Board, and scheduled a special Board of Aldermen public hearing for Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. The public hearing has been changed to Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. Nominations, appointments, and elections.
There are none.
Reports of committees. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the November 15th, 2021 Special Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the November 18th, 2021 Work Study Group relative to the Police Commission be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the November 22nd, 2021 Budget Review Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will suspend the rules to allow for the oral report of the Human Affairs Committee meeting held Monday, December 13th, 2021, regarding resolutions R21-183 and R21-184. Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you, President Wilshire. The Human Affairs Committee met last night in the chamber. We heard from the police department regarding these two resolutions, which is to accept two grants that they get federally almost every year. They were passed unanimously for recommendation of final passage by the committee.
Thank you, Alderwoman Kelly. Confirmation of Board of Aldermen's appointments.
Citizens Advisory Commission.
There being no objection, I will confirm the new appointment of Oscar Velasquez, 76 Boveview Ave, Nashua, with a term to expire October 1st, 2022. Mr. Velasquez, would you come forward to take the oath of office, please? Yes. Come right up.
Right. A few more. That's good. If you raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Citizens Advisory Commission on Community Grants, according to the best of your ability and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Hunt Legacy Trustees.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the new appointment of Charles Matthews, 27 Pendleton Farm Lane, Amherst, to the Hunt Legacy Trustees with a term to expire December 31st, 2023. I see Mr. Matthews is online. And the City Corporation Council will administer the oath of office.
Hi, Charles. You raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Hunt Legacy Board of Trustees, according to the best of your ability and agreeably to the laws and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and statutes of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Confirmation of mayor's appointments.
Conservation Commission.
There being no objection, I will confirm the new appointment of Brendan Martin, 23 Damon Ave, Nashua, with a term to expire November 30th, 2024. I do see Brandon online. The Corporation Council will administer the oath of office. Nope.
Little Johnson.
No.
No.
Is he too, Brandon too young there?
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Natural Conservation Commission, according to the best of your abilities and agreeable to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Cultural Connections Committee.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the new appointment of Wei Lin, 6 Cameron Drive, Nashua, to the Cultural Connections Committee with a term to expire September 20th, 2024. And Wei Lin is online?
Yes, I am.
You raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Cultural Connections Committee, according to the best of your ability and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Energy and Environment Committee.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the new appointments of Adrian George, 18 Shingle Mill Drive, Nashua, with a term to expire October 31st, 2024, and Michael Turcott, 36 East Artisan Street, Nashua, with a term to expire November 30th, 2024, to the Energy and Environment Committee. Adrian or Michael online?
Yes, I'm online, guys. This is Adrian George.
Okay, Mr. George.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Energy and Environment Committee of the City of Nashua, according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Historic District Commission.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the new appointment of William Quinn, 85 Concord Street, Nashua, to the Historic District Commission with a term to expire November 30th, 2024. I don't see him online. He will be sworn in at a later date, as will Michael Turcott of the Energy Environment Committee. Unfinished business resolutions.
Second reading of Resolution R21-182, relative to the acceptance of a granite bench donated to the city by the Memorial Fund for Sylvia Gale.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make the motion for final passage of R-21-182 by roll call, and if allowed, can I speak briefly?
Alderman O'Brien.
Madam President, it gives me great honor to introduce this bill for final passage to this board. Those of you who have not had the pleasure in the past to meet Sylvia Gale, like I did, I first met her probably 16, 18 years ago when I first got elected to the New Hampshire House of Representatives. She was working at that time in the office, and I had, like every new representative that comes in, I had a lot of questions. She was there for me, she answered them, she helped me along, and then I got to know her, personally, and she was a great citizen in the city, and I think she would take, since her passing, though sadly, I think she would take great honor in knowing that a bench has been dedicated in her honor so that people could sit down and reflect. So therefore, I urge you to pass this motion in her memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien. Alderman Clemens.
Thank you, Madam President. I concur with everything that the previous speaker has stated. I just wanted for the record, if I could, to be reflected as a co-signer. I did sign up to be a co-signer for that, but I don't see my name. So if that could be reflected for the record, I would appreciate that, Madam President.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any further discussion? Alderman Lopez.
Through the President, Vice President O'Brien, do we happen to know where the bench is going?
Where's the bench going?
I'm not 100% sure. You're trying to trick me up, but
Sylvia wants to go.
Yeah. Does anybody know in particular? I'm sure, knowing Sylvia, that a proper place has been picked. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion is for final passage. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemens.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 21-182 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of Resolution R 21-183, relative to the acceptance of $58,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Justice into Police Grant Activity 2022 Violence Against Women Act, VAWA Grant Program, and to authorize the transfer of matching funds.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R-21-183 by roll call.
The motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 21-183 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of Resolution R 21-184, relative to the acceptance of $34,600 from the United States Department of Justice into Police Grant Activity 2021 Justice Assistance Grant, multi-jurisdictional.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Madam President, I motion for final passage of R 21-184 by roll call, and I'd like to speak to it for.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Officer Kevin Pasillo came before us, and he mentioned that this was a federal pass-through grant and no matching monies or anything like that. But he also said that these funds were used for RAD, for Neighborhood Watch, for training, and some overtime, and that it's over a 3-year period. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
Motion is for final passage. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 21-184 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of Resolution R 21-187, changing the purpose of up to $440,225 of unexpended bond proceeds from the LED streetlight project to infrastructure improvements, sidewalk construction for the design, repair, and construction of sidewalks.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move for final passage of R 21-187 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 21-187 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of Resolution R 21-189, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed the amount of $1,859,440 for various improvements at the Solid Waste Department, Fort Hills landfill, and the purchase of a refuse truck and wheeled loader.
Alderman Dowd.
I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R 21-189 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries and resolution 21-189 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of Resolution R21-193, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed the amount of $21 million to fund architectural, engineering, surveying, construction, and other related work for the design and construction of a river walk adjacent to the Nashua River near Main Street.
Alderman Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for final passage of R 21-193 by roll call, and if I could speak briefly to this.
Alderman Schmidt.
I came prepared to just give you all the information that anybody could want on this, but instead, the mayor has already done this for me. So anyone who has questions on this, please replay the beginning of this meeting. You will hear the reasons for this. I am so glad I'll have an opportunity to vote on this because I think it was 5 years ago, I was at a mayor's town hall, and one of the constituents of the mayor spoke up and said, we have a river in this city. Why is it the backyard for everybody? Why isn't it important enough for the city? And he picked that up and he said, you're right. This is something that we could use to make people feel that Nashua is a growing, friendly, smart kind of town. And so thank you very much for the opportunity to vote on this today.
Alderman Tenza.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to respond to one of the comments, a couple of comments that were made before about the cost and this being rushed. So in fact, there is, if you go on the city website under economic development, there's a whole web page dedicated to the Riverfront development and the TIF, the Tax Increment Financing District. There is a development and financing plan that this board approved in February of March 2018 that's been up on the website. So this is not something that's being rushed through. I think anyone who's followed the project closely has understood that there was going to be a period of time where the TIF was put in place and we'd have to capture some of that value from the increase in property values. And so now we're at that place where we can reasonably bond and use the property taxes from the TIF district to pay for the principal and the pay for the bond. I'll also note for the record, Madam President, that the costs associated that are in this document that are on the city website has a low projection of I think about $13 million to do the project and a high projection of $20 million. So I think this board has been consistent over the years. It is a big project and a big number, but not one that the city hasn't planned for the last 3 or 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Lopez.
So to begin with, not to debate Alderman Schmidt, but when I first joined the board, one of the first things that I disagreed with was a proposal by the mayor to add cantilevered walkways to either side of the riverfront. And I didn't disagree with the cantilevered walkways at all. I just wanted to make sure that we lit the rail trail first and focused on some of those specific needs. So I'd say the mayor has been mindful and attentive of the opportunities presented by our waterfront for quite some time. And I know that Alderman McCarthy used to talk about the efforts that he put into cleaning up the shrubbery and making that riverfront more accessible in Le Parc de Notre Renaissance Francais. I know that park is very important to the Richelieu Club, and it was very important to the former Mayor Lozo as well, and that it is the centerpiece of a lot of activity, including the farmers market incubated there to its present form where it is now. There were multicultural festivals, there were art shows, there's still an ongoing music series that takes place there. The riverfront really is a major attribute for Nashua. And as there was a special meeting about beautification of Nashua and kind of putting our best foot forward, I think this plan definitely does a lot of that, while addressing some pretty important needs as well, such as handicap accessibility to the footbridge over by Cotton Mill, improving the handicap accessibility at I think it's Bicentennial Park, the park right on the bridge. it does a lot of different things and a lot of really good things, but it doesn't do things that the Board of Aldermen, the city, and the Board of Public Works are just going to let happen without any supervision. This isn't exactly a blank check. It's a necessary step in a development plan to really cultivate an area of Nashua that has opportunity and promise. In the height of the pandemic, where we couldn't do parades and, you know, kind of public gatherings and all that kind of stuff, we saw citizens put string lights up on their kayaks and parade through town and the river. That introduced a whole new idea about how to use the riverfront and how to activate it for downtown. And as has frequently been commented, downtown is our gathering place. Downtown is our storefront where the rest of the world comes through Nashua, sees what Nashua is all about, and decides whether they want to do business here or whether they want to engage. And while much of the conversation recently has been about the barriers, and you know, that's what some choose to focus on rather than the outdoor dining, I think a lot of conversation about the riverfront has dominated developmental perspectives over the last several years. There has been signage up along the river for residents and for neighbors to look at the riverfront master plan and see these upcoming plans. And while I'm aware that not all Nashua citizens that speak in public comment necessarily are that involved in specific topics that they participate in, I know that the residents immediately in that area and the businesses immediately in that area know the potential that the river offers. And I encourage the board to support this. Thank you.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to echo all the words that have been said here, including the lighting of the kayaks. It was so much fun to see them going by, and it was heartwarming. But there were also other things that were done during COVID and so on, yoga classes that were happening. People were having picnics out there. It really was just kind of nice to see this, and to have it cleaned up and to have it look nice is extremely important. I often refer to as all downtowns as the heart of the city. I grew up in Chicopee, Massachusetts, and one of the things we did was we let our downtown die. We let our downtown die and we let our city die. And it truly, truly died. And I don't want to see that happen to Nashua. People come and look at a downtown and look at shopping areas, so like the Pheasant Lane Mall and so on, to see if this is a place that they want to live. They'll go out into the communities to find the homes, but they look at these hearts of the city, these mega areas of the cities to find out if this is a place that they want to go. And if we take care of these areas, then it's welcoming. And it makes people want to go down into the Ward 1s and Ward 5s and so on and find beautiful homes to live in. So I think it is important for us to pay attention to those downtown areas. It is our heart, and so I definitely support this. Thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, I don't want to rehash what the other aldermen have said, but I totally agree with you. For Nashua to have a river is very unique to us. Let's look at the historical value of that river. We exist because of that river. That is the convolutions between the Nashua River and the Merrimack. But look at the mills. The mills were built on the Nashua River. Now, many old-time residents may remember when that river used to run a different color depending what happened at a printing company. And if you wanted to go catfishing, all you had to do was walk on the shore and pick them up. But the thing is, the river has responded back. It is getting cleaner. I know the fire department has the dive team practicing in it. It's something to behold. Now, unfortunately, over the years, it got overgrown. It was hid from the public. Now, the city, fortunately, we cut it back. We get to see the beauty. It has a lot of history to us. We should invest in that history. And I'd like to thank Alderman Tenzer, to which I agree. Sitting on the infrastructure committee, this was brought up a long time. It's been, methodically discussed and moved along. It's not something new. It has been well vetted, and so therefore it has my support. We're better off than Boston. Boston has the Charles River. It's not named after Boston. I say let's take care of the river that Nashua gave birth to our city. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, I look at this project as an investment in our city. And it's an investment in our city that is financed by the buildings and the development that encompass the area that we are improving. That, I think, is why it's getting my particular support. But that is not a new concept, and it's not a new concept for that area either, because the apartments, or rather the condos that are down there, were built, I believe, in 2005 or 6, with the intention of funding the Riverwalk, the beginning of the Riverwalk, which we have now, which goes from Peddler's Daughter down to Margaritas. And that TIF district paid for those improvements. So this idea has been around for close to 20 years now. And it's finally coming to fruition. And I am glad about that, because for years we've talked about the possibility of doing something like this. And it wasn't until 5 years ago that we really decided, hey, you know, let's study this, let's make this happen. And, you know, finally it's coming to fruition. And again, I look at this is an investment in our city, and it's going to bring back dividends. When this gets finished, there's going to be more development down along the riverfront. Property values are going to increase, and the rest of the city, as a result, is going to benefit from that. These are the kind of investments that we need to make in our future, and I'm proud to support this this evening for those reasons.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you, Alderman Wilshire. I don't want to rehash what everyone has said. I do want to thank people who have really been very instrumental in making sure this was well vetted and really well thought out. Anecdotally, as a downtown business owner, I've walked these paths. I've seen it come to life as we start to pull back some of the growth in the river, and it's really been beautiful to see. This plan, you know, really starts to connect things together. Right now, you can walk to Margaritas and it kind of ends. And this plan will now make it so that you can really make the loop downtown and connect up to our beautiful park at behind the Mill Yard. I think that I've heard from citizens even the last couple of weeks about, feeling the ownership of Braley Park, even though it's not necessarily in their ward. And I think as a citizen and someone who, started off living in Nashua right in Clock Tower, I feel that way with the beautiful parkland that we have, and now being able to pull all this together, allow people to really get in our downtown and enjoy it, and all of the events and things that we have been continuing to raise up for our community. So I'm really excited to support this and see this grow.
Alderman Dowd.
I wasn't going to say anything, but every time I see it, think of this project, I think of San Antonio, Texas. Now, it's not a direct correlation because it's a much bigger city. But they have a river. It started out as a stream with mud banks and dirt trails. And they developed it, and the properties around that now are hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, the river is probably 3 or 4 times longer now than when it was originally opened, because they made it bend and everything. But that and other cities like Providence, Rhode Island, you develop the river, you make it a spot to visit, and people come in and develop and build around it, and it becomes a show place for the city. So I think it's a benefit to everyone in the city.
Alderman Jettie.
Thank you. I too support finding a way of taking advantage of the river, which I think is a great natural resource that we have. But this is a bond issue, and former Alderman T. Boone, raised the allegation that we were somehow violating state law, that we hadn't done something we were supposed to do. I'm wondering if I could ask Corporation Counsel through you whether he has any comments about that.
Attorney Bolton.
I believe that we're in full compliance with the law with regard to the TIF project.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Lou.
Thank you. I feel that I won't be supporting this tonight, but only because I feel that it would be better to stage it, to do this work in stages as the plan suggested we may. Other funding sources were discussed. There were probably 10 of them that were cited as possibly providing some of the funds for this. And also, the price range was, possibly 13.6 million. I just think this is a lot of money. I feel so. I think that if I had some bad experiences asking about questions for TIFs, and so I think that's partly why I do have reservations here. I asked this year about the annual report for the TIF, and I was told that we don't do that, although it is part of the legislation that you find in our I believe, Mr. Mayor, you told me that. And I then spoke with Mr. Griffin.
I did not tell you we don't do that. In fact, we do, and we provided you copies.
So, but I'm just describing the scenario, the chronological, how I was originally told we don't do the plan, we don't do an annual report. Mr. Griffin said, no, we don't do an annual report on the TIFs. I sent a letter, an email to Director Cummings. He didn't respond, so at that point, I spoke with Mr. Griffin again. At that point, I got an email from Mr. Cummings, and he said, oh, we do these reports. Somebody told me that you're looking for the annual report. As you know, we do them in August, he said to me, in August. And so here they are. That was just, to me, a very off-putting experience. It seemed disingenuous.
Well, there are two different reports that you're asking about. The annual report is a city, so that was the confusion at the time, because you were talking to different people about different reports. The annual report is something done annually by the city that covers activities that doesn't necessarily cover the TIF. It covers, what the police department did and what the budget was, and it might have the state of the city address and a bunch of other things in it. And it's, a couple hundred pages, usually assembled by the city clerk. The TIF report is a financial report which indicates how the TIF has operated, and it's not done till the books close in August or September of the year. So the confusion was, when you were using the term annual report, some of them, like Griffin, is thinking that you're talking about the actual annual report, when you're actually asking about the TIF report. These are different documents, and that was the confusion.
May I finish?
Yes.
I think if anyone that was there, if they don't recall, they could look back at the minutes and know that I specifically was talking and asking about the TIF annual report, which is described in page 13 of the development program. I just hope that if the increment, I also feel that until tonight, I really applaud your very detailed explanation of tax increment financing, because we had a description last week that was confusing to anyone that tried to make sense of it. But I just hope that if the incremental assessments and revenues to the city become far more than the scheduled payment of the bond. I hope that we will pay the bond ahead, make advance payments of principal and interest, because it's set for 30 years and as a 30-year payoff, and it concerns me that for 30 years, the economic director will have full decision-making power or authority on those revenues that go into the TIF fund. Thank you.
Motion is for final passage. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
No.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 13 yeas and 1 nay.
Motion carries and Resolution 21-193 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of Resolution R21-194, relative to the acceptance of $30,000 from the Nashua Rotary West into Public Works Grant Activity Disc Golf Course.
Alderman Jettie.
I move for final passage of R21-194 by roll call, and I would like to say something about it.
Alderman Jettie.
So this is accepting a gift from my fellow Rotarians at the Nashua Rotary West, who are generously donating $30,000 for the use of the development of a Rotary, the Rotary Disc Golf Course at Roby Park. And during the hearing on this issue, we were told that the $30,000 would cover all of the expenses related to this. So thank you very much to Nashua Rotary West.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I was happy to sponsor this, co-sponsor this, because I had a constituent, I remember this from a while ago. I had a constituent approach me, I think it was the end of my first term, when I was, so it was 2011, about wanting to do a disc golf course in Roby Park. And the discussion was had with Director Caggiano at the time, and unfortunately there wasn't any funds to do such a thing. And I think the project, I'm not sure what happened. The election came and went. Unfortunately, the voters decided to put someone else in there, and I never knew what ended up happening. But here we are today, 10 years later, and we're finally getting to do that tonight. And so it's funny how these things can come about sometimes. And I think when you have an idea, unfortunately, sometimes you fight red tape, and there's, what would seem like, geez, just put in a disc golf course, it's not gonna be that hard to do. Sometimes there's a lot of different things that come up, but, keep, as they say, keep fighting City Hall, and you'll get what you want eventually. So I'm happy to support this. I just thought that was an interesting story that folks might want to hear, so thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I too also am a sponsor of this, and I really would like to thank the Nashua Rotary West for making this donation and to make this happen. But my question is to Alderman Jettie. In disc golf, do you allow a mulligan?
Motion before us is final passage. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries. Resolution 21-194 is declared duly adopted. Unfinished business ordinances.
Second reading of ordinance 02174, prohibiting trucks on Eaton Street.
Alderman Lopez.
I'd like to make a motion for passage of 021074 by roll call. I'd like to speak to it briefly.
Alderman Lopez.
So the purpose of this ordinance is to make sure that trucks that are taller than the bridge don't try to go under the bridge.
That's it?
That was my comment.
Okay. Alderman Jettie.
So when this came before the Infrastructure Committee, I thought we amended it. Do we not need to amend it tonight?
I think
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, from what I recall, and unfortunately, as the good alderman knows, as we saw, we didn't really approve the minutes, and they haven't, well, there's some complications why the minutes aren't being put out there and on to date, up to date. But yes, Alderman, the short answer to Alderman Jettie, it was amended. To that being said, upon this being passed, and if this passed to the affirmative, it is open to future amendments. And before me, I do have a letter from Dan Hudson, who is the city engineer for the city of Nashua. And it says basically that relative to prohibiting trucks on Eaton Street, it should be amended to no trucks over 8 feet 8 inches to be consistent with the warning signs posted on the bridge to encompass Nashua's fire apparatus, which falls below the measurement. And that this is Mr. Hudson. He is online if the president so wants to recognize him. But this seems to be all incumbent to what was discussed at the infrastructure meeting.
Alderman Jettie.
Madam President, so, hearing that, I think a motion to amend in accordance with what you just read is appropriate before we finally pass it. And I will make that motion.
Make the motion to amend no trucks over 8 feet 8 inches.
Exactly how
Madam
President, Alderman O'Brien read it.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you for recognizing me. It should be 11 feet 8 inches, which is consistent with the warning signs on the bridge, not 8 feet 8 inches. I just want to make sure that was clarified.
That makes a big difference.
It does, yes.
it's like the ladder.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so Alderman Jettie is moving to amend to have no trucks over 11 feet 8 inches on Eaton Street. Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries. Alderman Lopez?
I'd like to move that the ordinance be I'd like to make a motion for final passage as amended.
Motion is for final passage as amended. Discussion on that motion. It would have been really silly to have an 8-foot.
I mean, they would have gotten under the bridge.
Did I say?
You did, you said
Oh, I
8.
meant 11, my.
The letter says 11-8.
Okay, no further discussion. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Ordinance 21074 is declared duly adopted as amended.
Second reading of ordinance 02175, authorizing a yield sign on Manchester Street at its intersection with Concord Street.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion for final passage of O-21-075 by roll call, and if I could briefly speak to it.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you very much. This was brought by a constituent and a resident here in Nashville directly to Public Works about this intersection. And as a person who drives this on a regular basis, and many people here as well, it is kind of concerning sometimes when you're trying to merge in there. So to have this yield sign would kind of slow the traffic a little bit and make people aware that there are cars coming in from multiple directions. So I look forward to a positive final passage of this. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion for final passage? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 2175 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance 02177, updating the Administrative Services Division and Personnel Ordinances.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of 0-21-077 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Ordinance 21077 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance 02178, authorizing a stop sign on Denise Street at its intersection with Marie Avenue.
Alderman Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for final passage of ordinance 21-078 by roll call, and I'd like to speak to it.
Alderman Schmidt.
This is in a quiet neighborhood where mostly what you see is people walking their dogs and moms and dads pulling their kids in wagons. It's always been a very quiet neighborhood. Sometimes there are a few people that don't understand they're in a neighborhood. And so we have to put stop signs just to make sure we don't have any further accidents on this. Thank you.
Motion is for final passage. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes?
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 21078 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance 02179, revisions to ordinances regarding grievance procedures for persons with disabilities.
Alderman Lopez.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion for final passage of 021-079 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gaffey.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
that motion carries, and ordinance 21079 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance 02180, updating the purchasing ordinances.
Alderman Kelly. Alderwoman Kelly?
I apologize.
Okay.
I move for final passage of O 2180 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
No.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 13 yeas and 1 nay.
that motion carries, and ordinance 21080 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance 02181, relative to the revision of ward boundaries.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend dash 021081. This is concerning the ward boundaries, and there was a discussion at the personnel meeting with city clerk and what was taking place in the different wards. So in order to pass this, we need to get this done, finish it up today so that city clerk can get that up to the state.
Okay. The motion is to amend. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries. Alderman Karen.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-21-081.
Motion is for final passage.
No.
No.
Table.
Yeah.
I think she's
Says
going to
table.
explain.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not gonna take it.
No, it's supposed to be tabled after the hearing.
Is there a public hearing required on this?
Yeah.
Did we
Okay,
already have?
No.
so,
I don't have that.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Alderman
President
Clemmons.
Wiltshire, thank you. Yes, so the city clerk actually approached me before the meeting. I apologize, I wanted to jump in there. But she asked that we table this until after the public hearing, so I don't want to end discussion, but so I think the best thing to do would be to table this until that time, but.
Motion is to table. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes,
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
that motion carries. Ordinance 2181 is declared amended and tabled. New business resolutions.
There is none.
New business ordinances.
First reading of ordinance 02182, requiring legislation and related information to be available.
Additional sponsors? Alderman Tenza or Alderman Lopez? Given its first reading, I'll assign
Madam
that.
President?
Oh, Alderman Lou.
Thank you. As the bringer of this motion, could I just speak on it briefly?
I'd like to move for final passage.
So you are making a motion?
Pardon me?
Are you making a motion? for-
Yes.
Okay. The motion is to have a second reading.
And speak to that.
Alderman Lou.
This request is simply, it's something that we've done for 15 months or so. All it asks is that every legislation that's posted, that's published on our website and otherwise, contain on its face the date that it was voted, it was passed rather. Also the committees it went to and the dates it was discussed at those committees. Back in, May of 2020, I was learning that it's very difficult to look back to see how, what points were discussed and what considered in legislation. And at that time, it occurred to me that if we only had those committee dates on the legislation, it would be easy to look back and get a better understanding of what made this legislation make sense at that time, and also what points we may not be considering now if we're revisiting it. So President Wilshire suggested that rather than create a piece of legislation at that point, that we all met, and Ms. Graham and Ms. Lovering and Director Kleiner and President Wilshire and I, and it was pointed out that there's a signature page for every piece of legislation, and those signature pages show the dates that it appeared at the different committees. And so at that time they said, hey, we can do this, and from June of 2020 to mid-August of 2021, those were appended to every legislation, so that if any of us, or if a resident wanted to get a better understanding of the background on a piece of legislation, going forward, they'd be able to look back and move right to the committee discussions. All I'm asking is that this continue, and it's been going on, like I said, for 15 months. It's a pretty simple thing, just to include those dates. So I'd like to ask to move that we have a second hearing and vote on this tonight.
So the motion is to suspend the rules to allow for a second reading. So is there further discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Alderman Clements.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I don't have any reservations myself, but I would like to get an opinion from the city clerk and from our legislative manager how they feel about this. And so while I will support a second reading, I would also like to table this so that they can get us a written opinion on this, unless they can quickly tell us yes. But I'd rather just give us a second to give us a written opinion, and then we can take it up at the last meeting of the year. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Alderman Clay.
Thank you, Madam President. I completely agree with Alderman Clements. I would like to be able to look into, find out if there's any other extra work and so on that goes into this. But I do support suspending the rules at this time.
Okay, the motion is to suspend. Further discussion on that motion? Alderman Lou.
I just want to point out that sitting down in this chamber with the Director of Administrative Services, the City Clerk, and the Administrative, the Legislative Administrator, we came to this solution. So I just want to suggest that discussion has been had, and that's the solution that they brought to me.
Alderman Lopez.
So I support the legislation. but in the spirit of the legislation, I feel like legislation where we're documenting where we had all the discussions and where the whole due process was given to it, it wouldn't really be a good form to do that legislation with, you know, not exactly cutting corners. I think Alderman Clemens has suggested a pretty good compromise. It gives all of the aldermen a chance to review it themselves and any implications that it has. It gives us a chance to do our due diligence with city departments. And while I fully trust that Alderman Liu had those conversations that she reports, it is an important precedent to have transparency by making sure those communications can be documented, that we have the conversation here on the floor that we're having right now, and that there's, I mean, it is an ordinance, so we have to make sure that the processes are being followed to a reasonable way.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, my only concern is we have been beaten up several times for trying to do a second reading unless something's urgent. So what is the urgency that requires a second reading this evening?
Well, the term is ending. I suspect that because Alderman Liu won't be here for the next term. And that discussion was had that she referenced. So the motion is to suspend the rules. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
No.
I'm sorry. Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
No.
Alderman Dowd.
No.
Alderman Karen.
No.
Alderman Clemens.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Liu.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
No.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
No.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 8 yeas and 6 nays.
And that motion carries. Alderman Clemens.
Move to table.
Motion is to table. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemens.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Liu.
No.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 13 yeas and 1 nay.
That motion carries. Okay, new business, nope. Period for general public comment.
Madam Chairman?
Mr. T-Boom.
Yeah, Fred T-Boom, 24 Cheyenne. I would not have stuck around as long till the end, except in the discussion of 193, Alderman Jettie asked of city attorney, but he followed the law. And the city attorney, without any details, said, yes, we are. Let me point out 2 places where you are not following the law. First of all, in the bond itself, the main page, it says, the bond shall be the general obligation of the city of Nashua, payable to principal and interest, which shall be levied without limitation as the rate of amount on all taxable property within the territorial limits of the city of Nashua. That is not consistent with the TIF. TIF financing the incremental taxes to pay for this $21 million bond come from the increased valuation of properties within that TIF district, not the entire city of Nashua. Certainly, Attorney Bolton should have known that, should have corrected this. Against the law, to state that the entire city pays for this $21 million bond. They don't. Second problem is I mentioned the TIF financing, RSA 162K:9, which City Attorney Bolton didn't mention. Not mentioned anywhere. Mentioned was a TIF district, mentioned was a concept plan, mentioned was a design plan, but none of that is a financing plan required according to RSA 162K:9. And one exists, I'd like to see it. I'm gonna ask for a right to know law request to get this, because that's supposed to be developed before you start spending this money to develop them. If you don't have it, and I'm gonna have to address this to both the city attorney and probably the treasurer, maybe the mayor, if you don't produce it, I may have to see City Council Bolton once again in court. Thank you.
I'll be happy to win again.
Anyone else, public comment?
Lori Ortolano.
Ms. Ortolano?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. You know, I heard what Attorney Bolton said in his last comment there, that he'd be happy to win again. I've just spent 2 full days in court working on my right to know trial, and I have 1 more day to go back. And it is wholeheartedly disappointing to see what this city is doing with information. And maybe Attorney Bolton is very confident that he's gonna beat me hands down on everything. And maybe I am gonna lose everything. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I can tell you, I feel you have a significant amount of information corruption going on in this city. I handled a pro se case on December 6th in court. And what I heard from city employees really was disturbing to me, that they're just deleting their emails, that they never heard of RSA 33A for record retention, and they weren't even familiar with the email storage and retention policy. And this was from, Louise Brown, who was a supervisor in assessing and been in City Hall for 20 years. You know, you have some big problems in there when it comes to information. And Attorney Bolton can chuckle at Fred T-Boom, but I think Mr. T-Boom's raising a very valid point, and I don't think you should be laughing about it. Your property for the Arts Center, former Alex Shoe Store, was never valued correctly, nor was the assessment done. And it was done again by Greg Turgis, who apparently never visited the property on April 1st, when a wrecking ball was put to it. And I don't know why you think that's funny, but I don't think it's funny. There's nothing funny about what's going on in here regarding these TIF properties and regarding right to know issues. Regarding the barriers, I think the mayor did a real disservice to that conversation tonight. He wrote a terrible piece of legislation centered around pandemic politics, and I believe that Tim Cummings should have nothing to do with that committee. Don't let him lead that committee. Let him sit back and be a spectator watching that. Assign one of the non-restaurant people who's in opposition to these barriers to head it. Let's put somebody who's on the other side of it in charge. Because we've heard what the cheerleaders say, and all of the anecdotal information out there is just that. Where are these studies? Why is Paul Shea conducting data research on what downtown people want?
30 seconds.
And why is this even happening? It's so disenfranchising and disingenuous when you hear Tim Cummings speak at a meeting and discount everyone who showed up to give comment. He's simply not a leader who can handle this. And I find when it comes to right to know requests, his door is closed, the light isn't shining over there, and he wants nothing to do with citizens. Okay, he doesn't have to have anything to do with citizens because he's the mayor's right-hand man, but let's fix the problems in here.
Anyone else wishing to give public comment? Mr. Como?
Yes, thank you. Alex Como, 4 Lewis Street. I just had a very brief question about R21, 194, if I could. The $30,000 from the National Rotary, is that in place of the $30,000 that was already approved, or is that in addition to?
In lieu of, instead of.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to give public comment? Seeing no one? Remarks by members of the board. We'll start over here.
Thank you, Madam President. Since this appears to be our last meeting prior to Christmas, I would like to extend happy holidays and Merry Christmas to my fellow members on the board and as well to all the citizens of Nashua. And I would like to thank Alderman Lopez. I was wondering what I was going to do for the rest of the week. I will find out where that bench is going. Thank you.
Alderman Clay?
Thank you, Madam President. And I too would like to extend happy holidays to everyone here on the board and within the city, and have a very safe and happy holiday. I'd also like to continue a conversation that I had started with thanking the United Way of Greater Nashua, specifically Sarah Caesar and Michael Affelberg, and their volunteers who wrote 60 of them wrote 2,000 thank you cards to our healthcare workers at the 2 hospitals. Some they did also in Spanish, because they know that not everybody speaks that. I'd like to also thank the Brookline and Merrimack Lions Club for their generous donation for us to be able to buy $10 gift cards for the employees also there. And there were also a lot of numerous private donations from citizens throughout the. I put up a post and they came through, and it was just wonderful to see this happening. I'd also like to thank the National School District. There were 5 schools that participated, creating various artworks. Some were on glass, some were just, I shouldn't say just, some were beautiful painted works of art, and there were 2 very large pieces of art that came from the Brentwood School. They're beautiful. They're, you can see them online. They say it all. The thank yous in multiple languages across that, the holding of the hearts and so on. It's just, it was truly was very emotional and beautiful artwork. And I can't thank all those people enough for all that they did. I know it seems like nothing just to say thank you to our healthcare heroes, but I made the comment about that we are at the height of the pandemic. We are. But when we were at the so-called heart of the pandemic, we were standing outside of hospitals and we were giving impromptu concerts and we were holding banners and we were saying thank you to all these people. Well, now they're short-staffed, overworked, very tired, no beds at the end, and I think they need that more than anything. I suggested to some people that perhaps they might want to do some caroling right outside of our hospitals, socially distanced and masks on. But that might be a nice way of just being able to say thank you, and we appreciate them. And with the holidays here, I think that's something that we can do. Just an idea I'm throwing out there. So thank you to all our healthcare heroes, all of the people that are in our grocery stores. And as far as masks are concerned, I do support a mask, but I do think that we need to do better if we were to put it through, and we need to have a better enforcement of it. And I don't believe that restaurants need to do takeout. So thank you very much.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, just a couple things. I'd like to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to the existing board and all the incoming members to next year's board. Hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday. Also, I spent the entire day today with the Nashua Fire Department doing strategic planning. It was very efficient and effective, and we got through the entire process in one day, which I've been involved in a number of them, several at the city level, and after several days, we were not as far along as the fire department. So I think you'll be seeing a plan coming after the first of the year about what they have for strategic plan, and I think you'll appreciate all the work that goes into it.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you. I too would like to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Hopefully you'll get time to spend with your family and friends this year. And finally, I would like to wish our city tax collector treasurer, David Fedette, a happy retirement. He leaves on Friday, and it's going to be hard not to be able to pick up the phone and say, can you help someone within my ward? Can you explain to them what's going on and give them a better answer than I can or anybody else can? So hopefully he's packed and ready to fly out to Florida and enjoy some nice warm weather for the holidays, but he's going to be sorely missed. I don't know what you're going to do without him, Mayor, for a while. But John Griffin, I know, will be able to pick up that slack, but it's not like we don't have a lot of good employees, but David has always been very dedicated to this community, so thank you.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to start by giving my condolences to the Streeter family. Mayor Bernie Streeter passed away at the end of November. And Mayor Streeter served us not only as mayor for 8 years, but was also an executive council for this city for, I think, over 25 years. And he served our city well. I didn't always agree with him politically, but he was always a gentleman, and whenever we'd see each other out, we'd always have a nice passing conversation. And it's sad to see somebody who is such a dedicated public servant pass away. But I think what we need to do is just remember him and for what his contributions were to this city, which were significant over his tenure. And so again, I want to just extend my condolences to the family and his friends. Also, there was a gentleman who I found out passed away, and I regret not having said anything at a meeting. He was a Democratic activist. His name was Kenneth Steffen. And Kenneth was somebody that I got to know working through many different Democratic presidential campaigns and different races for Congress and things like that. And most recently, it was the Pete Buttigieg campaign. And Kenny always had no problem giving you what his opinion was on something. But he was a hard worker, a good Democrat, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention him here and give him his due. With that, I also want to just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will see you sometime between Christmas and New Year's again.
Alderman Lopez.
I am reserving my happy holiday wishes for everybody here because next Tuesday we have the longest night vigil. It's a vigil recognizing Homeless Memorial Day. There are people who will spend tonight and future nights unsheltered in the cold. They will be celebrating those holidays as well and unsheltered. So I think it's important that we come together at least to acknowledge them. The vigil includes a reading of names that are submitted by the community, and I've already received several. If anybody listening to this would like to submit a name, you can email them to me and I will make sure that they are read. That will be 6 p.m. This upcoming Tuesday on City Hall steps. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Tenza.
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly to my colleagues here on the board and to everyone in the community, just want to wish you a happy holidays. Happy, safe holidays coming up. Hope everyone has a nice time with family and friends and stays healthy throughout the rest of the year. Thank you.
Anyone else over here? Alderman Schmidt.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Carolyn Choate for coming in and giving us a little look at how she sees beautification for Nashua. I think what she's asking for is for good neighbors. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. It goes with the stop sign that I have requested to be added. It goes with the speeding that I can't seem to control in Ward 1, and I understand is everywhere. People need to be good neighbors. It really matters. It makes the city roll along just nicely. I also wanted to say, I just was reading the news today. We've had 20 more deaths today, recorded yesterday on today's response from COVID. So please, mask, please get your vaccine and your booster. Please wear your mask and distance. This is so important. We need to get through this in the next couple of months. We don't know how bad it's going to get. So please pay attention. Thank you.
Alderman Harry Gethright, you all set?
Just want to say to all of Nashua, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, as well as to my colleagues here tonight.
Thank you. I would like to also send my condolences to the family of Bernie Streeter. Bernie was a public servant. He spent many, many years giving back, and my condolences to his family. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however you celebrate, do it safely. And we'll see you next year. Oh, we have one more meeting, but not before Christmas. Committee announcements. Alderman O'Brien?
Infrastructure Committee, it seems like we have nothing pending. We would have been on the 22nd. If I hear anything, I'll let you know. But hopefully we might skate, and so therefore you can bake your sugar cookies. Thank you.
Alderman Dowd?
Yes, Joint Special School Building Committee this Thursday at Nashua High North, masks required. And it looks like we don't have anything on the agenda for the budget meeting of December 27th. So unless something comes up that I'm not aware of, we're going to cancel that meeting.
Okay. Alderman Tensler?
Similarly, PEDC is scheduled for next week. We were supposed to have a public hearing, but it looks like that got continued until January. So please stay tuned. We will let you know whether we need the meeting next week or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to adjourn
Motion is.
by roll call.
Motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Alderman Jody.
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
And we are adjourned at 9:48 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.